Hello guys, this is Death Nico, and I am here with another video tutorial from Mod Organizer. For those of you who have not seen my first tutorial, it covers basic installation and mod installation and basic uses and handling of Mod Organizer to either complement or completely replace mod installers such as Nexus Mod Manager, Rybash, Test5 Edit. So this will be covering more of the advanced level techniques and also to try and cover some problems that people are having on a regular basis with things such as Skyproc patchers, and we'll also cover a few things that some users have been confused on lately. Now, before getting into this tutorial, there are a couple of things from my previous video that I wanted to touch back on real quick. They're minor mistakes that I made in my explanation previously, but nothing major. The first thing is that early on in my tutorial, I said that Mod Organizer removes the mod limit that a user can have in his or her load order. Unfortunately, this is not the case. While it is true that Mod Organizer can handle just about as many BSAs as you could throw at it, it is not true that it can handle as many S.T.E.P plugins as you could throw at it. The limit of 255 ESP and ESM plugins that applies to other mod handling tools such as Nexus Mod Manager unfortunately still applies to Mod Organizer. At this point in time, the only known method to overcome this sort of limit is to still create a merged patch with something like Rybash. However, Mod Organizer does still make this a lot easier on many people by being able to separate different plugins for different profiles so that different load orders can be used for different characters, which is still a rather unique feature compared to most mod handling tools that are out there today. The next thing I wanted to cover from my previous tutorial is that I did tell you that you need NCC installed with Mod Organizer in order to handle FO mods. Now the reason for this is because FO mods are specifically mods that use an external installer in order to properly install the mods into the Skyrim data folder or into the virtual filing system. So what this boils down to is that in order for Mod Organizer to handle FO mods, it needs NCC as a sort of a third-party tool. For example, if we go to our Downloads tab and install something like water, you'll notice a little window come up that says Preparing, and once it reaches 100%, you'll get a little pop-up window and it says FO Mod Installation Dialog. Now there are quite a few mods like this, and the purpose of an FO mod is to allow the user to customize it to his or her tastes, and it would not be possible for Mod Organizer to handle FO mods like this without the use of NCC. Now, another thing that I had mentioned in my previous video is that if you go to the toolbar section of Mod Organizer and you click on Settings and on the Workarounds tab, you will notice NNM version and it will have a number here inside of this little window. I had said that this is the version of Nexus Mod Manager that is installed on the computer. This is not the case. This is actually the version of Nexus Mod Manager that the current installation of Mod Organizer mimics. And finally, the last thing that I want to touch back on is that with your any editors, now, if you come in here and you edit the Skyrim any or the Skyrim Press any, this copy does not only apply to everything that is in Mod Organizer. Each profile actually comes with its own any, so if you change an any page in, say, your default profile, it will not affect any of your other profiles. So this way you can actually keep custom any settings for various characters and various profiles with Mod Organizer. Now that we've got that cleared up, let's move on to the tutorial. Now, quite often, a number of us will throw in a lot of mods, and every once in a while we'll get into a situation where one mod has conflicts with another, and sometimes we can have trouble figuring out which mod is causing which problems that could lead to instability and crashing in our game, or just a feature of a mod not working correctly. A lot of us know how to use mod tools such as Test5 Edit to catch incompatible mods by looking for mod conflicts, but there's going to be a lot of us that will be using Mod Organizer and do not know how to use other third-party tools. So that leaves the question, for those of us that have no other options, no other knowledge, what can we do? And here is where I want to show you an area of Mod Organizer that truly makes the software shine, and it will actually show you conflicts between conflicting mods. For example, let's say that I install a mod that adds or edits sound files. In this situation, we're going to use a mod, Clanking Armor. Now, Clanking Armor has another mod that has been created to change the sound that the mod brings to the game, which will add more bass or change the noise for the mod, and that is Deeper Clanking Armor, More Bass. Now we activate both mods, and you will see a couple of symbols come up underneath Flags tag in the profile category. Now, what these icons mean is that one mod has files that are overriding files from another mod. In this case, the mod with the green plus beside the lightning bolt would be overriding files from a mod that has the lightning bolt and a red minus beside it. Now, there are a few different ways that you can use this feature by Mod Organizer to figure out which files are causing the conflicts between your mods. The easiest way is to take a look at the mods that have conflicts, and then right-click to bring up a window on one of the conflicting mods. At the bottom, you will see information. Click on this, and if you go to the Conflicts tab, it will actually show you which files in the mod are conflicting with the other mod. In this case, it is Deeper Clanking, More Bass, and if you look in the top window, this shows which conflicting files are provided by this mod. Vice versa, if you close this window, right-click on the other mod, Information, and go to Conflicts. Now you will see those conflicting files in the bottom window. This will show you which files from other mods are conflicting with this mod. Another way that you can locate conflicting files is to go to your Data tab inside of the right-hand pane of Mod Organizer. Now, in this case, these are sound files, so what you would want to do is go into the Sound section, and then look at the FX, which contains the files provided by both of these mods, and you'll see here that this says New Heavy Armor Sound. And if you keep on breaking down the file tree, you will see the data section being broken down just like the virtual file tree system that the install mods are broken up into. So we continue breaking this down, and you will see here that Deeper Clanking, More Bass, these files are highlighted in red underneath the Mod tab. If you mouse over one of the files, you will see a window pop up, and it will say also in Clanking Armor, which tells you that these files also contain the same name as the files that are being overridden in the other mod. Now, if you look in the profile pane, you will notice a tab on the very right labeled as Priority. The higher a mod's priority number, the more precedence that mod's files will take. For example, you see that Clanking Armor has a priority of max, which would be labeled as 1 in this case, and Deeper Clanking More Bass has a priority number of 2. So More Bass is overriding Clanking Armor. Now, let's say for some reason you wanted to allow Clanking Armor to completely override any of the changes made by More Bass. In this case, you could come over here and click on Priority for Clanking Armor, and you click on it once to highlight the mod, click on it a second time in the Priority tab section, and it will bring up a box where you can edit the number. As you can see, the number highlighted is 1. Let's change that to 2 to override Deeper Clanking More Bass, and hit Enter. Now, if you look closely, you will see that Clanking Armor now has priority 2, which is a higher priority than Deeper Clanking More Bass, which is now at 1. Now, of course, this is not going to help with all mods, but it does work for quite a few mods, so it's definitely worth taking a look at and playing around with if you are having a little bit of trouble getting certain mods to work. Now, if you come to find that you are going to need more control than what the priority provides for getting conflicting mods to work, then there are a couple of ways you can actually get into the files for the installed mods and delete, replace, or move files around so that they can be properly set up. Now, the easiest way to access these files and have complete control over them is to right click on a mod and select Open in Explorer near the bottom of the window. And as you can see, it brings up the files for that mod in your Windows Explorer window. So if you need to switch something around, or if you need to make any sort of changes, for example, this mod deals with sound files, so you can go into the sound folder, the FX folder, new heavy armor sound mod, footsteps, and you will have free access to any of the files here that belong to this mod. Make any changes that you feel necessary, and then you can simply exit out of this window and you are good to go. Now, another way to do it, if for some odd reason that feature ever bugs for you and you cannot use the right-click method, is to simply go to your mod organizer folder. In this case, it's on my desktop, and you can go into mods, and you will see here all of your installed mods. So go into whichever mod you want to make changes, and you will see that once again it is broken down into its respective folders to mimic the data file tree that default Skyrim engine reads. Once again, make any necessary changes and then simply exit out of the window. Now, there is a hide feature for certain files. If you right click on a mod and then select information and go to the file tree section, you can once again open up your data files until you get to a particular file that you were looking for, and you can right click on the file and select to hide it. This will actually make that file inaccessible. You cannot do anything to alter it, and I believe it will also not load in the game. If you need to unhide it, simply right click and select unhide. And this is also another method that you can go in and switch around files or change or delete files in the file tree by right clicking and creating new folders or using some of the options here. And once again, if for some odd reason you cannot access that window in order to hide certain files that you don't want to alter, then you can go into the data tab on the right hand side of Mod Organizer, and you can actually right click and hide here as well. Now, I have updated Mod Organizer since my last tutorial video. It is updated to version 0.12.7, and there is a new feature that has been added. The feature is actually a godsend to people who have problems with their load order and are trying to get help from other mod authors or from anybody in the Nexus forums, so that they can get their game running properly again. And what you can actually do is right click on any mod inside of your installed mods section and export to CSV. It'll bring up a window asking you what you want to export. Everything, all installed mods are included in the list. Only your active mods or all mods that are visible in the mod list window at the time, if you have enough to be able to scroll through them. But any of them that are not visible on the window currently will not be included. If I was to click everything, it would show here a window with all of my mod information that I have chosen for it to bring up to this, and you can copy it to clipboard to paste anywhere you need to, or you can save it as a text file. Now, there are a few mods that work differently with Mod Organizer than they do with something like Nexus Mod Manager. The first one that I will be showing you is SkyUI 3.1, which is the first official version of SkyUI on the Nexus that provides mod configuration menu support, otherwise known as MCM. I have noticed a lot of people having problems installing SkyUI 3.1, and guys, you are going to be kicking yourselves whenever you see what the issue is and what is stopping you from installing this mod and enjoying it to its fullest extent. SkyUI 3.1 installs via an external installer, and as you can see, it brings up a SkyUI problem report when it tries to install. This report informs you about potential problems with your SkyUI installation. Fix these problems, then press refresh to confirm that they're gone. After all problems have been resolved, you can continue with the installation. The problem listed is that the Skyrim script extender, Skse, is not installed. Now, as you can see, I will go into my documents and I will go to my Skyrim folder. And you can see that I've got Skse files in my folder. They're installed correctly. So, Guys, don't worry. Your Skse is fine if you did install correctly. This is actually a fault of Mod Organizer because it cannot read Skse in the Skyrim folder correctly because it's not installed like a regular mod. And because SkyUI 3.1 has been designed to detect Skse upon installation, it throws this warning up at you. The question is, what does this have to do with actually being able to install the mod? And it is extremely simple. If you click on the install button, it will bring up a small window. There are still unresolved problems left. Install anyway. Now, a lot of you are not seeing this window. The reason why is because for some odd reason, this window is executed automatically minimized. And I actually have a small video located on my channel on YouTube that will show this. I have no reason why I didn't do it this time. This is the first time I have ever seen it. Actually, on the same computer that I have installed it previously with a different version of Mod Organizer, that has done this like this. But if you look at your taskbar, whenever you click on the install button from the previous window, you'll see this button down here, and as you can see, it's a link to this window, so just click on the button, and then click on Yes. And as you can see, SkyUI has been installed via Mod Organizer. So we click on the check mark box to activate SkyUI. We look in our ESPs tab, and we see SkyUI ESP. We go to our BSA, and there is a SkyUI BSA. Activate those files, and SkyUI is now installed, and you can enjoy it to your heart's content. Another type of mod that quite a few of you have been having problems with, and works a little bit differently with Mod Organizer, are mods that have a .jar file. These are Skyproc patchers, and a primary example is automatic variants. And I'll be showing you how to install automatic variants and get the Skyproc patcher for this mod to work properly, because it basically works the same for any other Skyproc mod on the Nexus. So we will start by installing automatic variant stable beta. I have 1.6.1. There is a newer version out called Automatic Variants Alpha. However, as this is the stable version currently out, I will install this. So we double click and a quick install window comes up. What we want to do is click on manual install, and as you can see, this mod is packaged improperly for Mod Organizer to set up its data files correctly. So what we want to do is right click on the second data tab and then set that as a data directory. And as you can see now, it is structured to where the Skyproc patchers will install into the data section, and the script files will install into the scripts folders of the data section as well. So once your file structure looks like this, click on OK. And to verify that everything is looking kosher, right click on Automatic Variants and click on Information, and then go to your file tree. And what you want to see is this right here, your meta-ini, your Skyproc patchers folder, and your scripts folder. Now, if you open up your Skyproc patchers folder, and then open up your automatic variants folder, you'll see a folder for AV packages, you'll see a folder for your files, which has your block list text in it, and a README, and you will also have an automatic variants jar. Now, do not touch this yet, because you first need a texture pack. In this case, we use Bellyache's Animal Automatic Variants Package. So we're going to check to make sure that this is structured correctly, which it is not. What you want to do in this case, since it is going to be installed inside of AV Packages, you want to set up the data directory on the second data tab, just like you did with the previous one. So we're going to set the data directory here, select OK. And what we want to do here is merge. What this is going to do is, since the file structure is similar to Automatic Variants Stable Beta, we are going to merge this, and it is going to add the files, in this case the Automatic Variants package, to the Automatic Variants mod. So once it is done extracting, once again, we will go to Automatic Variants in the Installed Mod section, right click, select Information, and then go to File Tree. Open up Skyproc Patchers folder, open up Automatic Variants folder, and then look at AV Packages. And you can see in here a Bellyache's Animals folder, which is from the mod that we just merged with Automatic Variants. And you can see here that you have all of your texture files. So once you have verified that that is installed correctly, click Close, and now we are going to patch it. Now with jar files, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have Java 32-bit installed. If you have Java installed but it is only the 64-bit version, it is not going to work because Mod Organizer was not designed to handle 64-bit programs. So it is extremely important to make sure that you have the 32-bit version installed. If not, go and get it. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's not going to work if you do not have Java 32-bit. Once you are sure that you have Java 32-bit installed correctly, there are a couple different ways that you can run the jar file to patch automatic variants or any Skyproc mod to work properly. The first thing we need to do is make sure that automatic variants is activated, or the respective Skyproc mod, and then we're going to go into our data tab. Since I've already got it highlighted, I need to select refresh, and this will refresh the tab for me. Now, if you scroll down, you will see that a Skyproc patcher section has been added to the data section. What you want to do is click on the arrow to open this up, and you will see that as you continue to open it up and scroll down, it is actually broken down and structured the same way that the file tree that I showed you earlier is inside of the automatic variants mod folder structure. If we expand the file tab a little bit, you will see that the automatic variants.jar file is here. This is the same file that you saw earlier whenever I right-clicked on automatic variants and selected information and went to the file tree. So right-click on the automatic variants.jar file, and you will see an open execute option and an add as executable option. Both of these are valid options, and I will show you how both of these work. The first one I will show you is open execute, and this works just like executing any sort of executable file on your computer. And as you can see, it brought up the patcher window. Go ahead, and once you've got everything set up the way you want, go ahead and start patching it. And as you can see, I have a little patcher window up here in the top left corner. Let it run its course. And as you can see, it generated an automatic variants ESP file that was placed in my ESP tab in the right hand section of Mod Organizer. Now, this ESP plugin is actually placed in the Overwrite folder, as can be seen by right clicking, going to information. And it also has texture files and Skyproc patcher files. Don't worry, it's okay to leave it here if you choose to do so. If you don't like it there, then you can simply place the files inside of their respective folders by using the methods that I have shown earlier, but I will leave those sort of decisions up to you. Okay, so what if for some odd reason this method doesn't work for you? You go to your data tab and you go back to the Skyproc patcher and automatic variants, yada yada, and then you right click on the jar and you try to open and execute. For some odd reason, the patcher window does not start, or just some random little thing could come up that could break this feature for you with Mod Organizer. There is another option. You could either A, select add as executable, which will bring up a name window, and you can come in here and type whatever name you want for it. I'll keep it at automatic variants. Just to make it easier, we'll do .jar. And then click OK. From here on, it's pretty simple. Select automatic variants.jar. Click run just as you would for any other executable that you've added through Mod Organizer. And once again, make any edits to the settings available for the patcher, and then click the patch button and let this window do its thing. Once a patch has finished running, be sure that you go to the ESP tab and select the automatic variants ESP. You always want these to be at the end of your load order. That goes for pretty much any Skyproc patcher, and if you do not use a tool such as some that will automatically patch plugins for you, you need to make sure that all of your patch plugins are in the proper order as well. Now earlier I mentioned the Overwrite folder, and as I showed you, that is where the automatic variant files and ESP were put whenever I made the patch. So some of you are wondering, what exactly is the Overwrite folder? What is its purpose in Mod Organizer? It is basically what it says it is, and anything that inside of this folder takes the highest amount of precedence over any files inside of the Mod Organizer. So basically, if you happen to have some files that you want to make sure work no matter what, or if you have something that you are working on as a modder and are trying to test, and you want to make sure that there is nothing else installed and activated that will conflict whenever you test this in game, the Overwrite folder will actually allow any of the mod files installed into the folder to override everything else that's installed through Mod Organizer. Now, one final mod type that I want to cover are some mods that will add Skse plugins or .ini files that are required to make the mod work properly. In this case, a rather popular mod that quite a few have stated they are having problems with is Ellie's Skyrim Uncapper. I will show you how to install this one properly to get the Skse plugin and the ini file to work. We go to the Skyrim Community Capper, and we want to install this mod, and you will see it is improperly structured for Mod Organizer to install it. So just as we normally do, we will check and see which files are in here, and you can see there is a data section, Skse Plugins, and there is actually a readme file that is included in the 7-zip file. So we are going to right click on the readme file and open, and as you can see it does have installing instructions. In fact, any mod on the Nexus that has a custom .ini file and Skse plugins should come with a readme file, so please look for it, or it should at least have proper installation instructions on the mod information page. In this case, we want to extract the contents of this archive to where the Skse DLL file and the Skse.ini file are inside of our Skyrim installation folder data Skse plugins. So this needs to be in data Skse plugins. So that tells us that inside of our data directory we need to have Skse plugins. From here it is properly structured, so we will set the second data tab as our data directory. Further collapse this Skse plugins, uncapper DLL, and uncapper.ini. So we select OK, and this installs, and we activate this. Now to double check, we go to our data tab, and down here we see that we now have an Skse section in our data files. So we open this up, open up our plugin section, and now we can see the Skyrim Community Uncapper files properly installed into Mod Organizer. Well, now that I have shown you how to properly install a Skyproc patcher, in this case automatic variants, I suppose some of you are wanting to see a little example of this mod in action as a sign of proof that this is in fact the correct way to install it. So I will disable Skyrim Community Uncapper, as that was not installed whenever I made my patch earlier. And let's give the game a shot, shall we? Now, right before I launched this game, I actually went back and I downloaded and installed Insanity Sorrow's Automatic Variants pack. The reason I did this is because it has pink skeevers. I think this will allow me to much more easily showcase to you that this Skyproc patcher does in fact work. The method that I showed you is the proper method to install and patch, and you will see within this gameplay video soon enough. So if you will just bear with me for a moment while I spawn a few skeevers for everybody's sadistic pleasure. As you can see, we already have some black and red and green. And we've got our pink skeevers. And I don't think the skeevers I've spawned right now are liking me very much. I think the pink ones are especially displeased with me at this point. Just for a little spice, let's spawn 200 of them, shall we? And let the mayhem ensue. Well guys, that concludes this tutorial, and for a time, we must part ways here. However, Mod Organizer is an ever-evolving tool, and there will be updates in the future, which I will be covering those as well. Not only this, but I am also beginning to branch out into other areas with video recording, covering mods and different features that are coming to the Skyrim Nexus, and planning to do so much more in the future as I become more familiar with recording for my audience. So until then, I wish everyone to take care of themselves, and I enjoy the next one.